The positive crankcase ventilation system, or PCV, was introduced on vehicles in the early 1960s. A PCV system routes the vapors from the pressurized crankcase back to the intake manifold, where they can be burnt in the combustion process. During the last part of the combustion stroke, some unburned fuel and the byproducts of combustion leak past the sealing rings on the piston and into the crankcase. This leakage is referred to as blow-by. Blow-by vapors must be removed from the engine before they condense in the crankcase and combines with the oil to form sludge or cause the oil to become diluted from unburnt fuel. Blow-by gases enter the crankcase under the pressure of combustion. As a result, the crankcase becomes pressurized. If the pressure in the crankcase is not relieved, the pressure will force the oil in the crankcase past the seals and gaskets, causing oil leaks. Combustion gases that enter the crankcase are removed by the positive crankcase ventilation system, or PCV. The PCV uses engine vacuum to draw fresh air through the crankcase. On a typical PCV system on a V6 engine, a PCV valve connected to the intake manifold by a hose is mounted in a rubber grommet on one valve cover. And a PCV air inlet with a filter is located on the opposite valve cover. When the engine is running, intake manifold vacuum is supplied to the PCV valve. The vacuum causes the ball or check valve in the PCV valve to lift off its seat and cause a low pressure area under the valve. Air flows from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure. The vapors from the crankcase are drawn up to the PCV valves through the oil drain openings in the cylinder head. The movement of the vapors from the crankcase lowers the pressure in the crankcase. Fresh air from the PCV air inlet enter the opposite valve cover and flow through the cylinder head openings into the crankcase. This constant circulation of fresh air into the crankcase and flow of vapors from the crankcase to the PCV valve and intake manifold results in a reduction of pressure in the crankcase and a burning of the vapors through the combustion process.